OTB Nation, let's ride.
Yo, welcome back to the Out the Box Show. I'm John Wiles alongside my co-hosts James Luffy and Rory Luke. And wowie, wow. We're late night podcasting. This is what it's all about. We're kind of in the trenches. Life kind of happened this evening. Y'all are extremely great co-hosts for putting up with me this evening. I had my fantasy football draft from my high school buddies fantasy league, and we went over to Pluckers, had our draft, went a little longer than expected. We're late night podcasting on a school night.
Yep.
So this one's gonna roll. We're gonna cram probably the most we've ever crammed into a rolling episode, right?
Yep.
We had a great weekend. We're gonna talk all about it. But before we get to all that, I want to give a huge shout out to the Boot Crew Media Network. BootCrewMedia.com is where it's at during football season. Oh my gosh, there's so much content, whether it be sports betting, recapping the Saints, LSU, you name it. BootCrewMedia.com and on social media at BootCrewMedia. And by the way, if you go on BootCrewMedia.com and you kind of scroll down a little bit, you can see all the photos from the Boot Crew Media Golf Tournament. I made a point to get in a few of them. Nobody asked me to get in a picture, but I made a point to either photobomb or to just kind of be in the background of a couple pictures.
Wait, you said those are on Facebook?
They might be on the Boot Crew Media Facebook page, but they're on bootcrewmedia.com. So I am like I didn't go out of my way, but you could definitely tell that I knew the camera was taking a picture of me. So, bootcrewmedia.com and on social media at bootcrewmedia. All right. Also, I want to give you a huge shout out. Considering that football season is the best time of year,
easily,
it made me think of my favorite person of the year, and that's Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. Blaine wants to be your friend, your neighbor, and your agent. Blaine's going to be at tailgates this year. Blaine is my realtor. I cannot say any more true of a statement. Blaine has been my realtor in the past, and he will be my realtor in the future. Make sure to call or text Blaine Loop at 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. And if you get lucky, he might give you a free picture at a tailgate that he attends. He might. Like I said, and don't even ask for his autograph because those do not go for anything less than how much love it. I forget his going rate.
Thousands easily.
Thousands, but you know what? He gives you a discount of thousands on your real estate transactions. Not that he manages the price, but he definitely talks them down. Make sure to call or text Blaine Loop, 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. All right. This is a packed show. I'm excited for this one.
Me too.
We are coming off of what? You found a picture?
Yeah, I did find a picture of you.
Post it now.
It's literally just me listening to Justin at Boot Crew give the rules of the golf tournament. It was me ignoring the marshal, telling us to stay off of the the any grass.
You sang the national anthem, right?
I wish I would have thought of that. It was car path only that day. And the marshal said it. He goes, if you go off the path, your cart will beep. They have the geo fence around.
Yep. You'll start getting beeped at. Yep.
Yeah, they beeped and they slowed down the carts and whatnot. But it was a great day. But this is probably the most excited we've been in months. We've kind of been in the dog days of summer. No big deal or whatever, but we attended a LSU football practice into fall camp this past Saturday. I think we were all feeling good. It was at 10 o'clock. It was in Tiger Stadium. We all had plenty of hydration in our system. We all had a bunch of water. It felt like I think the actual temperature of the day was 98 or whatever, felt like 108. But that was probably one of the highlights of my, and I know it was because we're friends with Rory and not so much because of the podcast, because we kind of snuck in as media, but that was one of the highlights of my podcasting career was getting to sit in Tiger Stadium with you guys and actually get to see what this Brian Kelly team is about thus far. Among other things, we have a packed show for you guys, but let's start out recapping the practice. Great day.
Yeah, it started off hot and sunny and then it got kind of cold and rainy. I mean, sitting in the stands for the first 15 minutes, I didn't think that I was going to be cold at any point that day. But it was, I thought it was a good practice. The offense seemed to move the ball really well on the defense. And it's kind of hard, as a fan, it's like, which side do you want to see win? And you're trying to look at they gave us these little printed out rosters that were laminated. Very nice. And it was hard to see, everything at once. You kind of had to focus on one side at a time, but the offense did do well. The offensive line did do well. Cam Wire back at right tackle. And then it was Cam Wire, Frazier, Dellinger. And then, no, it was Cam Wire, Bradford, Dellinger, Frazier, and then Will Campbell from right to left. And I think that will probably end up being the starters. I mean, kind of give us some credit here, Rory, because we kind of figured it out before it actually happened that we thought Wire would stay at tackle and we thought Bradford would move into the starting lineup, just based off talent alone and what we had heard in the past. And the offensive line did a good job, I thought, that day. Of really handling D-line. And, the run blocking wasn't there yet, but that was a new offensive line that I think that was the first time they tried it. But the pass protection seemed good.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't see too much of the team here because it was raining. But from what I saw, they did look good. The continuity out there wasn't bad. I thought Dellinger played a pretty good center, for a guy that's brand new to the position, which I like to see. So,
yeah, I mean, and let it be known that John and I kind of toughed it out in the rain while Rory hid below.
I'll tell you what.
No, I mean, Rory had a good excuse to be hiding below.
Rory is a way better man than you and I.
Yes.
Rory,
that is true.
I guess has his priorities straight as far as
he didn't want to be sitting in the back seat on the way home.
Yeah, as far as his personal life goes, a true gentleman. Rory, thank you. Like we've thanked you a few times over text, but we want to thank you on the podcast as well. But putting up with us on a Saturday morning, generally Friday nights, we get down on Fridays. You got to get down on Friday, but you had us and your lovely girlfriend. Who has John James along with her. He was
attending. He actually attended his first practice.
Yes, you can tell John James when you're reading him bedtime stories. You can tell him the story and then be like, "Oh yeah, that was you that I was talking about in the story."
Well, when he's a first future starting left tackle at LSU,
yes,
I will be like, "I was at your first practice, son."
Yes, but all that to say, yes, it started. It poured in Tiger Stadium.
It did. Poured. It was pouring. It was cold like that.
It was just
cold, windy rain and
wet. Like my shirt was soaked, but it was hot.
Yeah,
from kind of the sun, but I had chills.
And I know we tweeted this, but Jay Johnson was out there like every step of the way. It started pouring, and I was like, maybe he'll leave, and we kept standing there. I was soaking wet. Could have wrung out my clothes. Jay Johnson, I look down. Every time I look down, he's still standing there on the sidelines. He didn't flinch. I don't even know if he knew it was raining.
We met Jay Johnson whenever he was walking in.
Remember
that?
John goes, "There's Jay Johnson," right to his face.
and he just goes, and James goes, "What's up, coach?" And he just goes, "What's up, guys?" But he definitely heard me say, "That's Jay Johnson," because he's just within 3 feet. But all that to say, I mean, how did you think the offense did? I mean, we saw them move the ball pretty easily on the first team defense a couple times. Well, I'd say because, and Rory, you can kind of shed a little light on this, but it's often recognizable which side of the ball, I guess, kind of dominates the scrimmage portion of practice, right? And to me, from my perspective, it appeared as though the offense won the day.
I think he said that in his press conference too. It just seems like that's a little worrisome, and I think my number one concern right now, if you had to ask me, special teams would be, if not including special teams, it would be definitely defensive back, cornerback specifically, not safety, because we have a couple of transfers with some experience, but it's just it's different than what we've had in the past, and not having Corey Raymond.
Whoa. Wow.
Bless
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, Rory.
I'm good. I'm good.
But I think cornerback's my number one concern, and then seeing the scrimmage definitely back that up because, and I mean, it's either that or Kayshawn and Butte and Malik Neighbors are really good because no one was covering them. No one covered them, even in the one-on-one drills. Kind of Rory, when you were still watching, like I didn't think anybody, not one of the corners could even hang with Neighbors or Kayshawn Booty.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's a lot of times drills are specific one-on-one drills favor. I mean, it depends. A one-on-one wide receiver drill is definitely going to favor a wide receiver, and you definitely have. And I think nobody's going to argue and say that we have at the top of the top better wide receivers than we have cornerbacks. I think that's about as understood gets. I think you give me the 1-2 wide receiver against the 1-2 cornerback on this team, they're going to win most of the reps as it should. I think it'd almost be more worrisome if it was the other way around and Malik Neighbors, Butte, they weren't winning reps. But then again, I mean, I just don't know. I think the offense has its days, defense has its days. It's just how scrimmages and practices work. But I mean, I do agree. I thought the offense looked well, looked good.
Nice correction.
Yeah.
Normally the correction is from good to well.
And maybe that's set up that way in camp some days. I don't know. You would have more insight to that, Rory, but I still think that, Neighbors and Kayshawn, even when they caught the ball in the live scrimmage, they really couldn't bring them down. Both those guys caught short passes and then shook maybe two guys and then finally got brought down by 3 or 4 guys. It was very hard to bring them down. They're going to be, they're going to be a problem. Those 2 guys are legit players. It just does worry me with the actual talent at corner, and there's multiple spots on the team where the talent is low. Another big takeaway for me on the offensive side was the freshman tight end Mason Taylor.
Yeah,
because I don't know if Cole Taylor, and I will get the names confused 1,000 times, but Cole Taylor is, I think, a junior now, and he's really tall, but he just isn't moving as well as Mason Taylor, and he seemed to be running with the ones and getting more snaps. If they were maybe close to equal, but Mason Taylor probably got more snaps, and I think that he's gonna be your tight end and passing downs and maybe most all downs because he just looked like the faster player with good hands, and he seems to know the playbook, and it seems like the coaches trust him. So that is very good, though. It's really fortunate for Coach Kelly and Denbrock to come in and have a freshman tight end because they came in thinking they were kind of screwed at that position, and seems like Mason Taylor's he's either stepped up a lot or we're really, really thin there.
Well, I think he looked good. No matter if you take out that guy's a freshman, new player, whatever. I think he still looked good no matter what.
I think he's someone you're getting really excited about next year. Hopefully you're looking into next year going, all right, this guy could take the next level as being like a superstar NFL type player.
Yeah, and I think you said that at practice as well. I think also it's just going to come down to what you can do on first and second down on those non-passing downs for him. I think you're right; he's definitely played passing downs, but I mean, tight end's one of those positions that kind of one of the harder positions to play in football, which is weird to say, but it really is. Not athletically, or athletically, but you have to know the whole offense pretty much, as good as a quarterback or second best next to the quarterback, under the quarterback. Because, wide receivers and some running backs, most running backs probably do, especially at the college level. But, offensive linemen don't really know the route tree. Wide receivers don't know what offensive linemen are doing. But you get a guy playing tight end, he's got to know the whole offense, how to block, how to run the routes they want. So
Yeah.
it's an important position. It's a hard position to come in as a freshman and take all three downs right away. But I mean, he was impressive, and I think it'll just come down to can he block, can he be in there on non-obvious passing situations, and he doesn't have to excel, but just hold his own. But I think he'll do very well and surprise some people in the passing game for sure. Maybe not week 1, but give him like week 6, week 5. You really get into SEC play, and he's going to be a key cog in the third down offense for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm battling. Does that make you feel good that he's in there that much and having to learn and do that much, or is it like we don't really have anybody else? He's gonna have to be thrown in there, and we're gonna have to see what he's got. But he does look good. I mean, he looks like he knows what he's doing.
I think, I think he does look like he knows what he's doing. Like I said, I think if you had no clue who that guy was, he didn't have a number on, and you saw him out there playing, you probably wouldn't think he was a freshman. He looks big.
Which was kind of what happened to it for us at first. Because, I mean, we're looking down at our roster, looking up and down. I see him make a couple plays kind of when we walk in doing team drills. We're like, wait, who is this guy? He easily looks like the best of the tight ends running routes.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I agree for sure. I think he did look the best of the tight ends running routes. And I mean, and I don't know if that's so much worrisome. Like we talked about on the off the chart segment, tight ends, is a tight end really going to make or break? Are you going to beat an Alabama, or are you going to lose to an Alabama because your tight end's not great? Probably not. It's an important position, but there's other guys on the field that's usually not a make or break position. But when you have a really good one, it can definitely help you. And I mean, we talked about that for sure. We talked about some old LSU tight ends that you can't even remember their names. So I think the tight end position will be involved because we know that that's what Denenbrock likes. And I think when he does get involved, it'll probably be Mason Taylor. And I'm excited.
Yeah. And I mean, I do kind of think that Jack Besh will play some tight end whenever they're in 11 personnel. Which it seems like they were in a lot on Saturday. And I think that'll be a main part of the offense. And especially on third down, I think you'd see Besh in some 11 personnel.
Yeah, and I think you're going to probably see a good bit of Cole Taylor and Mashburn probably in some play action situations.
Yep, and some RPO, kind of like read option stuff. Because Mashburn's not scared to put his head down.
No,
I mean, the dude may have got 4 concussions in the Florida game last year, and he just kept going.
He's kind of like if Torrey Carter played tight end.
Yeah, I mean, his name should be right, like dash Ty Davis Price for that Florida record last year.
Yeah. I mean, he was out there opening holes all over the field. I think he'll get a few catches here or there, but he's definitely not going to be a focal point of the passing offense. And I think Mason, the two Taylors are definitely going to have more of a role on passing downs than Jack Mashburn, but don't count him out. He's going to catch a few. He might have somewhere in the range of 7 to 10 catches maybe all year, maybe less than 7, but more than 5 to 10 catches. But he's going to hit somebody for Mashburn.
Yeah, definitely in the lower range. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Taylor for a second, but
I think probably 5 to 10 is safe. I think he probably had like 3 or 4 maybe last year. So I would say 5 to 10.
So I guess we need to talk about QB for a second.
I was about to say we have to get
to QB. Before we get to QB, I'm gonna clean it up with Martine Pattial. If you need a storage container, you need a portable office, you need the best porta potty in the business, you call Martine at Workbox LLC. It is 225-343-4886. 225-343-4886. Call Martine at Workbox. They are Louisiana's leader in industrial, and residential services with more than 20 years, I think going on 30 here, of experience in the industry. Storage container, portable office. The portable offices are looking good. I've been seeing them on Instagram a lot. They are looking good. We're thinking about moving John into one. They're going to actually change it up a little bit, do a little bunk room.
It'll be my podcast
Yep,
studio.
it'll be a studio, part of studio.
Studio editing software. I edit the crap out of these episodes. So
if you need a dumpster, you're redoing a home, you're building a home, you need a porta potty, a dumpster, call Martina Workbox. It's 225-343-4886. QBs.
All right, let me. I wanna kind of set this up for y'all because y'all's, I guess, technical insight is where you guys shine.
But John, you saw a lot too on Saturday. I mean, me and you stood out there and watched the scrimmage.
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah. While
no, we're not even bringing that up.
The team kept practicing in the rain.
Yeah.
But no, okay. So the big question of the year: who's going to be the LSU starting quarterback? Miles Brennan retires from football. The race slims to essentially a two-man race. And Brian Kelly said it in his press conference. He had a press conference, and then he spoke to the people, the former players and friends and family who attended the practice. And he pretty much reiterated the same thing. It's between Daniels and Nussmeier. I do want to say, Luffy, I want to reiterate what you said last week on the podcast. From what I see at this point, and like we said, doing drills is way different than scrimmage, and doing scrimmage is way different than in game. But Walker Howard looks damn good in all the drills, throwing the ball. Everything's pinpoint accuracy. The ball slips right into the pocket. Like, he looks like a just natural born quarterback. All right, I'll go ahead and get that's out of the way. From my opinion, Garrett Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels, if you looked at the drill portion of practice, they both looked very, very, engaged, very knowledgeable. Garrett Nussmeier kind of had the slight edge at like looking more like the vocal leader that I would like to see at the quarterback. On the other hand, Jaden Daniels had a little bit more touch on his balls and his footballs, and he had a few pretty sweet runs in the scrimmage portion, right? Like his ability to, recognize when the pocket's collapsing and to get the ball downfield. I feel like he's got the advantage on Nussmeier there. Nussmeier is more of an offensive just leader. He zips that ball in there. All three of us were talking about how you would not want to catch a ball from Garrett Nussmeier, but it all boils down to what do you want to see, and obviously what Brian Kelly wants to see. And what I think Brian Kelly wants to see is the ball move down the field. And to me, and this is just to me, this is not a professional opinion. This is J-Dub throwing out his guess at who the quarterback's going to be. But I think the nod just for the experience and whatever goes to Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be able to, move the ball down the field. I'd like to see him take more charge of the offense and really get in people's face when they may not run the correct route and kind of fire the team up more. But to me, and y'all feel free to shred everything I just said, but to me, it's going to be Jaden Daniels, and I think he will be the starter. And like Brian Kelly said, they're both going to play this year. There's no way both of them don't get at least a sliver of playing time this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Daniels is going to be the QB. I've said that last week and kind of sticking by that. But he actually played the second series with the ones. Nuss, when we were there, started the first series with the ones. They had a nice drive. Daniels then came in and had a nice drive with the ones, scored a touchdown. And I think that, like, a lot of people have been saying that Nuss has been better getting the ball out of his hands quicker, and we haven't seen every practice. We've been to one practice, but
it feels like we've been to every one after that.
To me, it looked like Daniels did a better job getting the ball out of his hands quicker, and that Nuss maybe held on to it or pump faked a little bit more. And that's just from the one day we were there. I do think it's going to be Daniels. The offensive line seemed to respond to Daniels even more. We were able to really just hear them talking on the sideline. Frazier was, they were fired up after a couple drives, pushing Daniels around, high-fiving him, getting him fired up. And I think that he does throw – I was impressed by his accuracy, really, that day we were out there. And I thought if that was bad, then maybe they would start to lean towards Nussmeier more. But his accuracy was good that day. The offense moved the ball extremely well in his 2 series with the ones. And I do think they'll be starting QB. Nuss did a good job as well. It did look like he held on to the ball a little bit too long, which was his problem last year. And he still was a young QB last year, and I'm not sitting here trying to blame him for anything.
He's still a young
QB
this year.
The situation he was in last year was not good, but I do think you could win with both of them, and but I do think that JD will be the starting QB.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that JD also had JD Luffy.
Yep. Just to clarify.
Juris Doctor.
I thought he had some nice deep balls too. He threw a couple good deep ones in the one-on-one period, and kind of the individual period. I thought it looked good. Hit some long routes, which kind of got me excited. I think that Nuss is, and you've heard that all the time about Nuss, even in high school, is that the arm is just crazy. But
sorry, Rory.
What are y'all laughing about over there?
Nothing. I was trying to do that discreetly, but I just noticed on our stream we have the logo, our Out the Box logo.
Wasn't discreetly at all. He was like waving all over the screen.
We have it at the top left and right of the screen, which I'm and we have it behind us too, which I'm perfectly okay with. Keep going, Rory.
I'm taking it out the top right then.
No, okay. Well, that just freed up the Boot Crew. Logo. So okay, sorry. Dude, sorry. I'm sorry. I completely butchered what you were saying. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're a lawyer. You can figure out some wording.
No, I'm 100% on board with the Jaden Daniels, or 100% on board with what y'all said about Jaden Daniels starting. I think he's a starter at this point. He'll take the first snap against Florida State. I think you don't look into too much, Nuss starting with the ones in the scrimmage and Jaden starting with the twos. I don't think that really matters. They probably get equal playing time. They probably switch every other practice. So, but I think, like we said last week, Jaden Daniels. Also, another thing I want to talk about, and I guess this could be the off the chart segment, because we do have one more off the chart segment that we did not get to.
Are we doing that today? Are we doing that today?
I mean, I figure.
I think it'd be relatively
might as well
easy.
throw it in right now, huh?
And then next week would be the
preview, because John, your prediction. John's already predicting. I can already tell you what John's predicting.
I'm ready.
I'm not going to spoil it, but
it's not what you think.
But off the chart segment, running backs, you have to talk about first John Emery, out for 2 weeks, which is tough, but I think they knew this was coming. He was running with twos.
Breeze, really.
Yeah. And he didn't look all there. He dropped I think like 2 or 3 easy passes at practice. But on the flip side of that coin, Noah Kane is like literally just a ball full of muscle.
He looks yoked.
Yeah, like absolutely huge. And I thought he ran the ball well, looked good out there, and I thought Goodwin looked good as well, Armani Goodwin.
He did, and hopefully Armani can stay healthy, because that is a huge concern for me. That Noah Kane get hurt, or something happens next week or in the first quarter of the game, and Armani Goodwin pulled up a couple times after a run or came to the sideline limping. I think he's a really good back. Maybe the biggest potential of the 3 backs, in my opinion, because he has that explosiveness, but he can also run you over. but they've got to stay healthy there. I mean, Emery was with the third team. He started working with the second team more as Armani, I think, was banged up. I saw some video of him at practice yesterday, which is a really good sign because we don't need any serious injuries. And they were tackling full go when we were there. It was no thudding. There was no hitting. Maybe someone falls down and we blow the whistle. There was a few
hits where I kind of was like,
yeah,
it was kind of shaking in the seats because
they were hitting.
Football's back.
They were hitting. Yep.
It felt like I wasn't expecting them to just hit and hear that pop. It felt great, especially in person.
And that was fun to see because we got to see Neighbors and Butte basically not be taken down a couple times on some catches. Dude, no one could grab them.
We kind of didn't mention that, but there was a few where Neighbors and Butte both shook would-be tacklers, and I always wanted to say that.
Both of them twice on 2 plays.
Yes.
4 total, shook 2 people, and
you think the play's dead, and then all of a sudden I think they scored on one of them. I think it was Neighbors that scored on one in the north end zone.
They were very, very hard to bring down, both of them. But back to running backs. We got to see them actually run into contact, which was fun because you got to hear that thud, like John's saying. But Kane jacked. We got to hope he stays healthy because Armani Goodwin, it does seem like he came up a couple times limping and looked slow out of the pile. And Emery's obviously suspended for 2 games. I think when he comes back, he'll be fine, though. And hopefully he comes back pissed off.
Like Torrey Crawford.
I mean, I think that this might, be the thinnest position on the roster, just with guys that this and tight end, but you usually have one tight end. You don't really have to play multiple tight ends, maybe 2. But this is a thin position. You pretty much have 4 scholarship guys if you include Josh Williams. Which I think Josh Williams, former walk-on. Don't hate the man, but I just don't want to see him make too many carries.
Yeah, that's good point on Williams. He's been a grinder. Anybody who can grind it out and play scout team running back and earn a scholarship is a hard ass worker, I would say.
I agree for sure. 100%.
Rory, more than anybody else, but you probably weren't getting hit at full speed like that every single day, running the ball on scout team. That is a grinded out position and good for him. But you're playing the SEC and there's a lot of really, really highly rated running backs and fast, big dudes.
I just become afraid. Like you said, Rory, this is the thinnest position on the team. Running back, historically, you have your main guy. It's like in the NFL and, speaking of fantasy drafts and whatnot, it's like, you get to a point in the later rounds where you draft the handcuff. They're called a handcuff for a reason because the main running back, the first string, gets the majority of the carries. You already have Emery, who, granted, look, we're playing Florida State. That will be the main test going forward in the next few weeks. And then we play Southern. We're not going to miss him against Southern, I don't think. But what happens if Goodwin goes down, right? It's a kind of a domino effect, and running back is one of the most injury-prone positions on the field. So I think you're right, Rory. If there was ever a chance for a walk-on to just not magically, but to hard work his way into being a starting running back for LSU, that is very possible this year. Not saying any of that's going to happen, but also want to reiterate that I heard Hester on the radio, which, by the way, Jacob Hester was at practice on Saturday. When he speaks, it's kind of like when he gets mad and pissed off, especially on the radio, because he knows he's a pretty to himself guy, but he's a smart speaker on the radio and whatnot. And when he kind of went off on the NCAA for this John Emery news, this is a suspension dating back to over a year.
Yeah.
Right. This was while Coach O was still the coach, and Brian Kelly has has taken the reins and done everything he can. And Rory, you can speak more on the eligibility requirements and all that. But I mean, if Jacob Hester, one of the most respected LSU football players of all time, I'd argue, is sitting there calling the NCAA a joke and whatnot. I mean, you can't help but think. I mean, dude, what more can this dude do? COVID was hard on everybody. That was part of his appeal for his suspension and whatnot. He had family members affected, and you just got to think like, I think we even talked about it last year, Rory. Like, I was kind of upset that the coaching staff, the players and whatnot were not taking more of an active role in making sure everybody was eligible. And I think you responded, Rory, and said it's not always like just that black and white, right? It's not always this, all he's got to do is go to class, go to his tutors and everything. Like, now you start to see the other side of the story.
And look, I mean, Kelly is not letting anybody play. There's so many guys that left the program, and we've talked about the talent thing, and the talent is not there for LSU this year as it's been in the last even 5 to 8 to 10 years. But the standards of like performance and going to class and all that is there. It's very high.
Right. And
if you're able to do it under Coach Kelly, who has the same standards, they did not lower the standards from Notre Dame.
I was going to say they raised him at LSU when he got here.
Yeah. Oh, they're absolutely raised. 100% raised. You can ask anybody on the team. You can ask Miles. I mean, like,
right.
And maybe we should even get him on to just explain the difference in standard. But like, if you're doing that much, like NCAA is like either, they've really advanced in some things, but like they're kind of out of their, with the transfer portal, there's not enough regulation on it, but they're also really behind in other things.
If Brian Kelly's in your corner after being suspended a year for being academically ineligible, then that means you got to be doing the right things to get back. And the fact that, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, I was on the way to work. I was half asleep, and Hester was going in on the NCAA. And to be honest with you, I'm not like educated enough on what their full power is and whatnot, but at this point, to me, given my understanding of the situation, it's time to give it up and let the kid try to get back into the program and play football like he wants to do, like he's been trying to do.
If I had to guess, nobody really knows what happened with the punishment and what it is, but I know for sure when we were there, there's a certain number of like hours you need every year. And then on top of those hours you need every year, there's a certain number of hours you need to have by like your third year. So you need to pass, I believe at time, you need to pass 9 hours every year. But if you just pass 9 hours every year, by the time you get to your junior year, you're not going to be eligible because you need to pass, a number greater than that. So if I had to assume, it's probably something like that, and then probably, didn't get the certain number of hours to pass, so then suspended for the fall. And then you try to come back, and you still have to get hours, intercession, summer school, intercession again, probably, if I had to guess.
While practicing and playing football for LSU. It's like, it's kind of like a domino, right? I mean, it's a snowball. It gets bigger as it rolls down the hill, right?
Yeah, I mean, because but it's a double-edged sword, Obviously, there's problems, but there's also resources, It's a double-edged sword, and a lot of times, like, to play devil's advocate here, and be a boomer, as someone like to say, like it's not, and this is for me, obviously not John Emery, not in his position, can't say the same for him, but some of the times you would look at it and be like, how is it even possible to not get that, but then I can't speak for somebody else in their situation, so I don't want to say that's he should have easily gotten that, because I don't know what's going on with him and that. but it's achievable. So,
and it's not like we're disagreeing with the sanctions have happened in the past, but it's like he's obviously fixed that, right? I mean, if he's playing under Coach Kelly's standards, he's obviously fixed his school problems by now. It's just weird that it carries 2 games over.
2 seasons. How 2 seasons? How are you going to be suspended for a whole year? Okay, like, dude, and this is the argument that a lot of people bring up when a player gets arrested or whatever. But there's players that have been suspended for less games for doing worse things.
Well, right? There's also the Alabama players that had illegal drugs and illegal guns that were not registered under their name in their cars. How many games did they miss, John?
0. Anyway, it's
0.
The thing is,
so that's what I'm saying. There's NCAA rules there's good rules and there's stuff they're behind on.
The academic rules are usually dry cut rules. Yep. Like this isn't
and enforced by the schools and
like this isn't like if I had to guess, like you can rant all you want, but this isn't like somebody behind making the decision on John Emery. It's a rule that's in place. Doesn't matter who it is. You don't meet this academic standard, you can't play. Like, it's just a black and white rule.
The appeals process right now.
Yes. Yeah. That's the point Hester was making is every situation for every college athlete. And we're going to move on from this. We've kind of been really taking a deep dive into it, which I'm glad we have. And I'm glad like all of our perspectives kind of take a devil's advocate approach while also, I mean, you have a guy earlier these guys, and that's all sorts of like different types of players for LSU, but it's just unfortunate, it seems, and I think this is the point Hester was trying to make, is that like the NCAA can't look at John Emery's situation unless there's something we don't know, right? Like there's always a possibility that we have no idea of a certain thing that could make all the difference in the world, right? But you look at it from the outside, and I feel like Hester's pretty in tune with the LSU football program, right? Being as respected as he is, and he just was unloading on the NCAA as far as the appeals process. I think that's where his main gripe came from. He was so upset that the NCAA can't look at John Emery's situation, barring nothing else, and be like, okay, the dude served his time. He sat out a whole year. He's a 5-star or 4-star recruit or whatever star it is. I mean, he was literally, I think we all agreed, and we can go back and look at the film, but we were assuming John Emery was going to be the starting running back for LSU last year. And then it ends up being Ty Davis-Price, which was before we started breaking down the team, a notch right, like not very below, but right below John Emery. So it's unfortunate. I think it's going to work itself out. 2 games, not that bad. It's basically just 1 game. I think Southern, which by the way, that's going to be an electric atmosphere. The Baton Rouge schools coming together in Tiger Stadium. We are going to do a tailgate for that, but it is going to be a challenge against Florida State not having John Emery. So,
House in Tigerland.
Well, actually, I have a DraftKings offer for the NFL season coming to you live on the Out the Box podcast. So, DraftKings is the official sports betting partner of the MLB, among other leagues. I don't want to misquote this, but we got a message in the Boot Crew Media chat the other day, and it said, make sure you put $5 on the Saints Week 1 matchup with the Falcons, the Dirty Birds, the Falcons. Who even is their quarterback now? Marcus Mariota or something?
The Coons? Yeah, Mariota.
The Falcons. You can put $5 on the Saints Week 1 matchup with the Falcons, and you will win $200 in free bets. I believe it's if they win. We understand that Boot Crew Media is not available in every state yet, but You can play free daily fantasy for thousands of prizes. Make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code BOOT. Bet just $5 on the Saints against the Falcons, and you will be swimming in the money. That's what we say here. The Out the Box podcast does not steer you wrong, especially in the gambling world. And I think we're pretty much ready. I want to do a quick segment. We're actually going to do a quick segment before the House Always Wins segment. We want to talk about what's that?
We're talking about you and what you did tonight.
No, we're going to talk about AJ Fletcher.
Wow, yeah. After AJ Fletcher.
In his UFC bout. And yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about my fantasy team. By the way, I'm getting text right now. I'm getting blown up from my high school friends. Number 1 projected on ESPN. Number 1 projected team. 10-team league, PPR.
Ooh.
Number 1, which I kind of don't like being number 1 because that leaves you open to falling. You can only go down. But anyway,
sports writers are out.
All that to say, were you guys able to watch AJ Fletcher's fight?
I did. I watched it on my phone at a wedding.
Okay.
I watched it as well.
Okay. So my initial thoughts is that, and I think everybody's going to have pretty much the same thought, right? 1, I think that the guy he fought, I think the reach that he had was a little bit, I'm not going to say unfair because AJ Fletcher would never back down from a fight and he would never claim that something was unfair. But I think when you have that kind of reach, and also he was just taller and bigger than AJ, but that doesn't matter. They're in the same weight class. His reach kind of made the difference. I think, the first round kind of went back and forth.
So,
the second round, it was kind of a stalemate until the middle towards the end of the round. AJ, it looked like, had him on the ropes, had him up against the chain link fence in the octagon, emptied the tank, and I thought for a second the fight was going to be called. I thought the guy he was fighting, I thought it was going to be called, but he didn't deliver that second punch to just make the ref wave it off, right? Third round, AJ was gassed, and the guy
just laid on him.
The guy basically just laid on top of him because he knew the fight was over.
So I think that he is fighting in a division, which is the guys end up weighing maybe 15 to 20 pounds more than him before the fight and are just bigger than him. I think that he maybe is always kind of at 170 and maybe doesn't even have to cut any weight. They fought at 170, right?
Yeah, he fights. Yeah, he fights.
I'm pretty sure it's 170.
Welterweight. Yeah, he fights welterweight, which is 170.
And I think that he needs to be fighting maybe either 1 or 2 classes below that because these other guys are cutting so much weight, and it seems like AJ's kind of walking around at 170. And I think he's just been overmatched. I think that if he can get in the right weight class, he can be dominant. But these guys they're like laying on him in the later rounds. That's what's happened in both fights, and like he needs to get into a lighter division.
The sad thing is that
because everyone's looked bigger than him.
Yeah,
like, almost knocked him. Like he had him. He needed one more.
AJ's a great fighter. I mean, he's a really talented, great fighter. But I think that these guys that are in that 170 division are just a lot bigger than him, and they're kind of just sitting on him. Like he's not getting beat by skill.
Yeah,
like, that's just not what's happening.
I mean, I think this fight. So he's fighting at welterweight, which is 170. Next, if he wanted to go down, he'd fight at lightweight, which is 155. But I think this fight and his last UFC fight, both, you just look at the guys that he's fighting, and he's overmatched reach-wise. I mean, I think they were the same height.
Reach, weight.
They were the same height to this in this fight. The one before, the other guy was like 6'1".
But taller. Reach too, and
reach.
Their actual fighting weight, I guarantee he's been outweighed too.
It's just like I agree. I think shout out Harrison Schluter, huge UFC guy. I was talking to him about this.
What about Harry Dast?
I have not talked to Harry Dast about this.
We should get Harry Dast and Harry Schluter to fight.
I don't want that for Harry Schluter. I'd be worried about his health and safety. But and we both agreed that he's just not big enough for the 170. Think about this. I don't know if you watched the rest of the fights, but the main event, Usman and Leon Edwards, that the crazy knockout. I'm sure y'all saw that. The knockout Leon Edwards had on Usman. Usman, probably before that fight, one of the top pound for pound fighter in the UFC.
So glad he lost.
That's the same weight class that AJ Fletcher is fighting in. That's AJ's weight class. You look at Usman and you look at AJ and you're like, there's just no way. Like, Usman just looks and feels so much bigger than AJ. And love AJ. He's a dog. Recurring guest. Great guy. But he goes down a weight class. He's fighting Poirier, obviously not going to fight Poirier, but that's who's in that weight class: McGregor, Poirier, those type of guys.
If he fought Poirier, they'd be the Battle of Lafayette. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
and they train together.
He would have to get there.
Rory, you're essentially making my point for me on this.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. He just needs to go down.
I think he's being told. What he needs to do, and I think.
It's not that, but it's what he thought whenever he was fighting locally. But whenever you fight the better fighters, you have to go down the way. That's the fight game.
But I think like Dana White put out a video the Friday before the fight, right? And he said, okay, these are the fights these are all the fights. You can watch them on the ESPN prelims, ESPN, the pay-per-view, whatever. And there was 2 fights he pointed out. AJ was one of them. Like, Dana White, it loves AJ's fighting style, and I think the whole idea is to get him, if he can start, I guess, leveling up. Basically, I know that's not how it works as far as like weight classes and whatnot go, but another thing I want to talk about is he, in his video, he posted a video. First of all, AJ's just got a face that just like bleeds a decent bit and gets really red. But he did mention the next day he looked like a champ that had gone through war. But he mentioned that he was like, yeah, like a lot of people said, I think somebody in a group text that me and Rory are in said he needs to be running the lakes or whatever. Might have been Rory. But,
yeah, that was me.
but he addressed the altitude situation. They were up in
they were in Salt Lake City,
Utah. And he said that, he trained for that and whatnot, and that it's no excuse. And the greatest thing that that you can ever hear from a fighter and a guy who literally goes to war in the octagon. That's what it is. It's war. It's you versus another man. In this case, a man that's bigger than you. Like, he made no excuses, and you just have no doubt that he's going to put his head down. And if we don't like fly ourselves out to wherever his next fight is, hopefully Vegas, just because that'd be awesome. But we'd be doing ourselves a huge disservice to ourselves, to him, to ourselves.
And this whole conversation is different if you get, if he gets just 3 more punches in that second round. I mean,
dude, it was literally
almost over.
It's always that last punch that you're like, take a breath in and you're like, that guy's not conscious, and then they hit him and then it's over. If he would have just gotten that 1 or 2 more, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
House Always Wins.
House Always Wins segment presented by the House Bar in Tigerland. Shout out to the House Bar in Tigerland. I believe the House Bar in Tigerland still sponsors AJ in some way. I don't know how the UFC manages sponsorships and whatnot, but Jeff and AJ graduated high school together.
Correct.
Known those guys since middle school. Jeff over at the House Bar in Tigerland wants you to know that school is starting. School's starting this week. How nuts is that? This week, tonight, as you listen to this, Thursday, the first Thursday of the year, going to be crazy down at the House Bar in Tigerland. Been seeing a bunch of videos and drink deals posted on their Instagram. Make sure to follow the House Bar in Tigerland on social media Twitter at Tigerland House and on Facebook and Instagram at House of Tigerland. Also at Tigerland, houseoftigerland.com. Houseoftigerland.com. You can order merch from there. You can schedule a private event, and you can just say what's up to the greatest bar in Tigerland with the greatest pizza. All right. House always wins segment.
Can I go first? Because I'm pretty pissed off about my pick last week.
You can.
How about this fucking scumbag, Cam Young? I have him top 20. He started on Thursday and was never outside the top 20, was solo second, had the lead for a while on Friday afternoon, and on Saturday was second at one point. He finished 20, I think it was tied for 22nd. So for 71 holes of the tournament, he was inside of the top 20. The 72nd hole, he fucking bogeyed. T22nd. I bet these picks. I mean, these picks were given out. I'm betting these picks. 71 holes of the damn tournament. He's inside the top 20. The 72nd hole, he bogeys. T22nd.
That's
Scumbag.
That's tough.
All right. I'm not over that, but
Rory?
we're going back to golf. Hold on, I haven't given my pick yet.
Oh, wow. I thought you gave it, and we're still up. Sorry.
No, I was mad about last week.
You know why?
Pick. I mean, that's a bad beat. 71 holes out of 72.
Yeah,
that's a bad beat.
That's a terrible beat.
He pretty much dominates all week, and then the last hole he makes a bogey, and he drops out of the top 20.
But we got football this week.
Yep, I'm taking but I am taking – this is my last golf until we get back to NFL. We're keeping records. John Rahm, top 20 top 5 with strokes, with starting strokes, top 5. He's been playing terribly.
So you go top 5?
He's been playing awful. He cannot make a putt. He lips out every putt. He cannot keep playing this bad. He's too good. He slipped pretty far back in the world rankings. Give me John, Jon, not John. Give me John Rahm
like John
plus
James.
190, top 5 with the strokes.
Rory?
I might be taking John Jon's pick here because I feel like this is a pretty popular pick this weekend. I've seen it tweeted out a bunch of times, but I'm backing it as well.
Packers Chiefs?
No. Give me Hawaii plus 8 against Vanderbilt game. That's not your pick?
No, I hadn't.
I saw there's like multiple people. I've seen it on Twitter multiple times. Hawaii is like 11-1 in week 0 games. Like the last 12 years. They play every year in week 0, and they've covered 11 out of 12 of those games. So Hawaii versus Vanderbilt at Hawaii, which is huge. Vanderbilt's got to fly all the way over there and play at Hawaii. Watch the Manti Te'o documentary this week.
How is it?
It's good. You really feel awful for him.
I agree. It's good.
Did you watch it, Luffy?
It is good. I finished it last night. It's good. I think that you do feel bad for him, and like it was an elaborate plan, but like at some point, like, come on. You got to see the person at 3 years. Like, how stupid can you be? But you do feel bad for him because it's a very, very elaborate plan.
All right, yeah. I'm gonna watch this at some point.
But like, how stupid can you be? 3 years? Come on.
See, I don't think it's that bad because he did see. I mean, not to get on this too much, but like,
let's get on it.
But we don't want to spoil. No spoilers.
I haven't watched it.
No spoilers. See that? I'm doing mine without spoilers.
So, all right. Well, then John's even. He'll tell us if.
No, I will tell y'all. I will watch it before the next episode. I promise that.
And tell us if he feels that Manti Te'o was justified. Or
everything I've heard, Roy,
is
everything I've heard is what you said. I've not heard one person be like, yeah, he was kind of being a baby about the whole thing, like he just did.
But so I'm going Hawaii plus 8 this week. College football's back.
All right. I forget what I took last week, and maybe it was an NFL preseason game. I can't remember, but no. I think I just threw another 100 on LSU against Florida State. But This week, Florida State actually plays this week in week 0, which the week 0 games generally represent teams that are not like power teams in college football. So Florida State's already got a -1 on my evaluation for this season, but they're playing Duquesne, otherwise known as Duquesne. I'd probably take them to cover the spread. I don't see it on my phone right now because the Wi-Fi is terrible at the studio, but probably take Florida State, because then think about this. If, and this is what I'll do as well. So this isn't my house always wins pick, but if Florida State does not cover the spread against Duquesne, otherwise known as Duquesne, then you take my house always wins pick this week, which is LSU -3 against Florida State. You throw 100 on that. And then if Florida State does not cover, you double down and throw 200 on LSU. So depending on how this week goes, I will either throw 100 or 200 on LSU. And I'll likely, regardless of how the Florida State game goes this weekend, I will likely just go ahead and throw another 200 on LSU. And I will announce next week how much at the time I have on LSU football to beat Florida State in the first game to cover. So pretty excited there. But I think that about does it for the House Always Win segment. Thank you guys so much for listening. We cannot thank y'all enough. We're late night podcasting tonight. Don't know if you can tell. You probably can't because this episode's coming out at the same time it normally does. But we had a great time tonight. We said we were going to roll, and we did over an hour. We just hit it over an hour. So thank you guys so much for listening. We cannot wait. Like, we're so close to tailgate season. I can't wait to get out there early and then see y'all out at the parade grounds. It's going to be a great time. Rory and John James, can't wait to see you guys out there as well. Shout out to the House Bar in Tigerland, Workbox LLC, Blaine Loop, Williams Realty, who also wants you to know that Keller Williams is an equal opportunity housing partner, each office independently owned and operated, the Boot Crew Media Network, and DraftKings. Rory, what were you waiting me? Did you want to hear my team?
Yeah, give us your team. We'll give you grades.
All right. So here's the deal. So I went over to Pluckers this afternoon, and I did not have my laptop. And they had trivia tonight, but we drafted from there. Co-host, former guest co-host Stinson.
He's outside in his boxers right now. He just walked back.
Run by. He might be in the background of this video, but all right. So I started out with the second overall pick.
Okay.
With the second overall pick.
Quick question before you get into it.
It is 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers.
Also,
one tight end.
Question
flex.
about Stinson. How's a Miami or Florida Keys, whatever they're in? How did the tan look? Was it a crispy tan?
Well, he's been sick for the last 2 days.
He picked
sick.
He picked 2 at number 1, which I was like,
overall?
No, he didn't. Imagine if he went to the Florida Keys and picked 2 overall. All right. So I had the second.
Steph gets Trubisky.
I don't know. I can look, but I don't know. You've asked me like 3 times.
I need to know for this podcast.
First pick in the draft. I'm just banking. I'm praying and banking that McCaffrey doesn't get hurt again. I took McCaffrey.
Okay, I like that pick.
And then I don't remember like the rest of the order. I believe I took, let's see. Okay, so my quarterback, Dak Prescott. This is just my starters. This is just how it loaded in. This is kind of the order I picked. Dak Prescott, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall is my second running back for the Jets. Keenan Allen, wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver for Denver. Russ Wilson, quarterback in Denver. Everybody forgets. Mark Andrews is my tight end. Michael Thomas as my flex player. If he can get healthy, that'd be nuts. Packers defense and Matt Gay as my kicker. Also on my bench, picked up Amari Cooper, did a little sneak, picked up Russell Wilson, Denver quarterback, to be on my bench. Picked him up a little bit earlier than I normally would because he might he might just run the ball a lot in Denver. I mean, you never know. IU kind of took a flyer on him. He hadn't been that great in recent years. James Cook not
Jared Cook,
not Jared Cook.
Butterfingers.
Got Kenny Galladay for the Giants. Got why are you laughing? Dawson Knox as a backup tight end for
Nice.
Buffalo, and to
There's
round
a
it
theme
off,
on this team.
Jalen Tobert from the Cowboys. No, the theme is, I realized this after I got done drafting, they all have bye week 9. Like by week 9, I'm gonna have to drop.
I have an answer on the Steph Trubisky, since it says yes, he tried drafting him twice. So Stefanos has Trubisky.
He tried
as a starting QB. It looks like. Yep. So John, I think solid team. I mean, you were drafted with not the smartest group in the world, so I would expect you to come through and.
Well, I had Stinson to my front at Pluckers. We sat in a booth, and I had Creel right next to me. So we were getting after. They had their laptops, and I just printed out the top 300 players.
Old fashioned.
And I didn't have my laptop, so I just
I like it better that way.
I just had a pen, and dude, the lighting. By the way, I mean, I love Pluckers. I go there all the time. I have rewards, and I'll talk about Pluckers wings forever. But the lighting in there is awful. I couldn't see my pen and paper from my eyeballs to the sheet. So maybe we need to pump some sponsorship dollars into Pluckers. But all that I got the chicken sandwich. It was nuts. So
thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much for listening. The Cheek and Chong sandwich. Oh, I thought you were talking about the sandwich.
Yeah, I like your bits.
Oh, okay. Well, so does ESPN because I'm the number one in my league. Thank you guys so much for listening.